There are some pretty strange ideas floating around in Christianity. Today I want to speak about two of them: drugs and alcohol. But it's probably not going to be what you exactly expect when you hear that. Let's start with alcohol, okay? One of those ideas that a lot of Christians seem to have that just drives me crazy is they believe they have to drink alcohol in order to fit in with those they are witnessing to. I understand some Christians like to have a drink now and then. I do understand that. But then, one thing I ask is, why do you drink in the privacy of your home and not in public? If you're not willing to do it in public, then why are you doing it at home? When we first moved to Cheyenne, I spent quite a bit of my time visiting in bars. Still go sometimes. It's not a really effective place to minister, but I was still establishing myself, and what better place to meet people that need God than in a bar? And every once in a while, somebody would come over to me. It only happened a few times, but they'd come over, they'd pick up my drink and go, just checking. I'd pick it up and go, nice, isn't it? Now, in case you didn't know, I prefer Diet Pepsi. I'll drink Diet Coke if that's my choice. But I'm a diabetic, and I've been sober since 1975. Not going to change that. So I'm not drinking alcohol. Here's the point. Why did they do that to me and not to other people in the bar? Obviously, these people thought there was something different about me than there was about the other so-called Christians that were in the bars. And yes, people, there are a lot of people that go to church every Sunday and they spend their time in the bars in the evenings. Not necessarily a bad idea. If Jesus were around, I figured that's kind of where he'd be. They always told me he was hanging out with the wrong people anyway. But let's see what the Bible has to say about alcohol. The Bible does say don't get drunk. It doesn't say don't drink. It says don't get drunk. And then on the other hand, Paul even told Timothy, drink a little wine for your stomach. I'm not sure what that meant, but Paul traveled with Luke, and Luke probably told Paul that Timothy ought to be drinking a little bit of wine. What kind of stomach ailment did he have? I don't know. Ask God. And, the Middle East doesn't have a lot of good, clean water, pure water. Even back then, there's a lot of bacteria and so forth, so alcohol was a little safer than drinking the water, you know what I mean? But, on the other hand, in the Old Testament, priests were told they couldn't drink any alcohol whatsoever when they were serving God in the temple. Now, we're called priests in the New Testament, and the New Testament's kind of like, Jews weren't Jews just, on the Sabbath. They were 24/7, 365. If we're supposed to be priests 24/7, 365, then aren't we on duty 24/7, 365? And doesn't that mean we shouldn't be drinking alcohol? I don't know. You go figure it out. You got any questions, you can email me at Velcro at Church with an Attitude, or call me at 307-256-9324 and tell me I'm a nutcase. It's all right. I've been told that before. That's my view on alcohol. Is it wrong? No. Is it good? Well, probably tastes pretty good. But in some societies, people drink alcohol every day. They grow up drinking alcohol. It's part of life. In our society, it's a real issue these days. Drunk drivers are it's terrible. And I just think it's not a good idea for a Christian to be drinking alcohol, just because it's an issue in society today. But let's go to part 2. Let's take a look at drugs. It's a little more complex than alcohol. Now, of course, there are illegal substances. Don't do them. Hello? You need more? Don't do it. But drugs can also mean prescription drugs, but people get addicted to those. Be careful. I am on prescription painkillers. I don't like the way they make me feel, so I don't take them unless I absolutely have to. And yes, mine are in the addictive realm. So, you got to keep a close eye on them. Dangerous. Some drugs are legal, some aren't. Some are legal if a doctor prescribes them. There's a lot in there. I guess what I got to say is, I'm going to finish with a little talk about marijuana, because it's been all the rage lately, and like Washington and Colorado have made marijuana use legal. Others have decriminalized it and so forth. Over the years, it's becoming more and more accepted. But here's the thing. If a drug is a mind-altering substance, much as alcohol is, then I think the same rules that God laid out for alcohol ought to be what we follow for the drugs. Does that make sense? I hope so. I want to finish with marijuana just because this is the issue. Like I say, I live in Wyoming. Last year, Colorado made marijuana legal, and it's really become an issue. I've often said that I have less problem with marijuana than I do with alcohol. My illustration is like this. There's 3 guys sitting around drinking a bottle of beer, and somebody walks in and says, "There's a guy out here harassing your old lady." I'll go kill him. Now, granted, that's not everyone's response, but it tends to be. Now, 3 guys sitting around smoking marijuana, somebody walks in and says, "There's somebody out here harassing your old lady." "I'll take care of it. And pass me the Fritos." Yeah. Marijuana does tend to mellow. Alcohol can take people all over the map. And the same people go different ways. Marijuana mellows about everybody. So I have less trouble with marijuana than I do with alcohol, but it's a mind-altering substance. And I don't think Christians ought to be doing it. Now, with that said, if you're doing it to relieve pain or nausea, and you've got a doctor's supervision, then I put it with other prescription drugs. I do believe there are people that can be helped with it. When you have doctors that write 1,000 prescriptions a month for marijuana, that's wrong. here's the thing. Christians seem to want to fit in with society. We don't want to stand out. We don't want to be different. And yet, isn't that what God's people have always been? From the beginning of the Old Testament, there was something different about Enoch. There was something different about Noah. There was something different about Job. There's something different about Abraham. God set up laws to make his people different. Laws like circumcision, laws like dietary requirements, and so forth. The keeping the Sabbath. These were all symbols of the covenant. And we aren't supposed to be trying to fit in with the world. We're supposed to be in the world, but not of the world. It's a difficult task. Do I fit in with non-believers? Probably not, but I am friends with a lot of them. Do I fit in with non-believers? No, probably not. But I think I fit in better with God, and that's my focus.